Good evening, dear listener. If your shoulders feel a little tight, if your thoughts have been busily knitting and unknitting themselves, let this be a very quiet doorway you can lean against and rest. You don't have to do anything clever. Just arrive as you are. The story will carry you. First, a few soft breaths. In through the nose, light and easy. Hold for a small, comfortable moment. Then out through the mouth, slow and whispery, as if you're fogging a window. Hush. Again, in and out. One more time. In and out, all the way, letting the breath brush the bottom of the lungs and then float up and away like a feather released. If it helps, place one hand lightly on your chest and notice how little effort it takes to rise and fall. Gentle, gentle. Tonight's tale begins on a stretch of late evening shore, where the sand cools as the sun slips under a violet hem of cloud. The sea is in a softer mood, barely lapping at the tide line. A hush-hush, a shh of foam. Far inland, the grasses in a long meadow lean together as if they're exchanging secrets. Above it all, the sky unrolls like a silk ribbon in deepening blue, brushed with high, pale strands of cloud that glow like chalk in moonlight. He stands there, an adult traveler, with salt on his sleeves and a quiet in his ribs that has been waiting a long time. His name is Rowan. He has walked this shore before, traced its curve with the soles of his feet, listened to its wind the way one listens to an old friend. Tonight, under the first silver pinpricks of stars, he carries a kite. It is not a toy, not a scrap of paper and stick, but a craft carefully stitched by patient hands. Light fabric, the shade of dusk, edged with a slender seam of gold thread. The tail is a line of soft tassels, each a muted ember of color, a hush of marigold, a breath of indigo, a whisper of rose. When Rowan unfurls it, the tail rustles like cattails in a pond breeze. Shh, shh, a sound that asks nothing and offers companionship. He fits his fingers around the spool, the string wound neat and smooth against itself like a sleeping garden snake. The string is silk cotton, thin and strong, excellent for listening to the language of the air. He takes a step, then another, letting the line slip, loosening the tightness in his chest as easily as he loosens the kite's tether. The evening is mild. The wind is a tender teacher. Rowan pauses and looks up. Between the small early stars and the last blush of daylight, there is an invitation, the clear space where attention can float. He feels the outline of his own breath ease, the edges of worry softening like sand under water. He checks the knot at the keel, the tiny brass swivel that keeps the line from twisting, and smiles at the care someone once took to make this small skycraft steady. Ready, he says, though not to anyone in particular, and the word seems to sit in the air like a feather before it falls. He steps back, raises the kite's nose to the breeze, gives a gentle toss, and the fabric catches, billows, and lifts. There is no yank, no lurch, only the lightest suggestion, as if the wind is nodding yes. The spool murmurs in his palm. Zzz, a soft purr. The line climbs. The kite makes a modest figure 8 as it learns the evening's temperament, then steadies, tail a quiet signature against the fading blue. Rowan lets more string slide free. Up and up, the kite climbs toward the high, calm lanes of air where travel is simple and true. He can feel it through the string. Little tremors like the heartbeat of a small bird resting in his hands. A language without words. I hear you, he says, and the breeze seems to answer with a warmer exhale that brushes his cheek. If you like, you can imagine the spool resting in your own hands for a little while, only the weight of it, nothing demanding. The line taut as a cello string, singing a quiet note that only your skin can hear. Notice what happens to your face when you let your jaw soften, your tongue settle, your brow smooth. The breath finds a long hallway to walk down and returns unhurried. All around the world there is kindness. A lighthouse far down the curve of the coast writes its slow circle, pale gold on deep blue. The sand keeps its cool secrets. A gull, late to roost, drifts by without commentary. The sky, oh, the sky, opens like a garden at night. Blossoms of starlight unfurling by the minute, patient and sure. The kite climbs, the line hums. The small shivers that rise through the string tell Rowan about invisible rivers up there, about gentle bends and softened edges. He imagines the kite not as fabric and frame, but as a listening ear. What do you hear, friend? The reply is a feeling more than sound, a welcome, a door unlatched. Rowan's feet find a stillness. The body knows how to root itself lightly. Ankles soft in the sand, knees unlocked, spine a steady mast, crown lifted as if by a quiet hand. He breathes, and the kite breathes with him. He exhales and gives a thumb's worth of line. The kite rises as if buoyed by that breath alone. The connection is simple and elegant, skin to string, string to sky. Now and then a small flock of lofted seeds passes by, down from the grass, up on a whim, twirling like tiny lanterns. They brush past Rowan and keep going, pulled towards some tall, pale moon that is not yet visible, but already at work, silvering the edges of everything. He thinks, with the plain clarity of someone who has arrived where they meant to be, that tonight is kind enough for wonder. The first moment of magic is not a flare, not a shock, but a quiet noticing. The line in his hand grows lighter, almost buoyant. The spool rests in his palm with the softness of a sleeping bird. When he looks down, there is no alarm in him, only curiosity. His feet, so gently planted, feel less and less of the sand. The world is tenderly subtracting weight, only the unnecessary kinds, until his body discovers what it is to be not carried, but invited upward. The wind is careful, mindfully slow. Rowan feels it under his shoulder blades like a cushion. The kite cannot help grinning, if kites could grin, its tail making small, delighted swishes. The line remains securely tied. The spool remains calm. Rowan's breath stays even, his heartbeat slow, his hands relaxed. Up is not far, just a handful of inches, then a palm's breadth, then the thickness of a book. He is rising as a thought rises when it remembers it is free to wander. If your mind wants to join, it can simply imagine lightness collecting at the joints, ankles, knees, hips, wrists, like warm lamplight pooling in easy places. No strain, no stretch, only the sensation of being unknotted. The sea keeps its soft rhythm. The sky keeps widening. The kite keeps its steady climb, the string a silver path. Rowan floats now a little above the sand, his shadow unfastening from his heels and lying down contentedly below. The shore offers a low, approving murmur. The air has the cool of mint and the warmth of bread, a strange and perfect blend that makes the body sigh. He looks at his hands, how deftly they hold the spool without clinging. He looks at the kite, how graciously it leads without pulling. There is a presence in the wind, felt as you might feel the personality of a room you love. It does not announce itself, it simply accompanies. Rowan finds himself smiling at nothing in particular. He knows that in the wide quiet above the rooftops and tree lines, pathways open that can be walked without hurry. The first stars are witnesses. The thin moon, not yet risen, is a promise. "Shall we go?" Rowan asks the air, and the air answers by smoothing its palm up the length of his arms, through his shoulders, along his spine, like a careful friend making sure a coat sits well. The line tenses, then eases, then tenses again, a soft invitation. The spool gives a little purr. The sand, still close enough to touch, feels no farther than a memory. The sky no nearer than a familiar doorway. Before the journey truly begins, the night offers him one last chance to settle. Rowan closes his eyes. He lets his jaw unclasp with a small, grateful click. He feels the warmth of his body present and kind. 3 breaths, uncounted, as slow as honey, each one a simple gift. The kite hums its approval. The wind nods. The sea whispers, "Shh." When Rowan opens his eyes again, the shore has become a gentle painting below. The meadow, a dark quilt. The lighthouse, a turning coin of light. The waves, a seam of lace stitched along the world's edge. He is not high. He is simply right where the air is softest. The string between his hand and the kite runs straight as a beam. Above him, the sky is wide open, and somewhere out there, the lanes of night travel are waiting, unrushed, luminous, kind. You are welcome to come along. There is room. You need only keep your breath steady and your thoughts unbuttoned. The journey asks for nothing and gives you time. We will go as slowly as a feather falling upward. The story will do the lifting. You, dear listener, may rest. The first stretch of sky road feels like walking along a shoreline that no one else has found. Rowan and the kite travel in an agreeable hush, the wind a gentle guide, the world below flattening into patterns of dark velvet and silver thread. The line is the quiet conversation between them, a soft, steady hum that tells him where the air wishes to go. He lets out a palmful of string, then another, and the kite replies with a graceful tilt, like a bird nodding hello. They follow a current that moves like a slow river. No rush, only a dependable flow. The clouds ahead are not heavy banks, but thin islands of pearl. And as Rowan nears them, he sees they are not featureless at all. Each cloud holds faint textures like thumbprints on soft clay. There are shelves in them and small alcoves and the suggestion of doors. He realizes he is drifting toward a library of cloud. The first librarian appears without fuss. She is a shape the breeze might make if it leaned into kindness, a figure woven from cool mist and a glimmer of moonlight. Her hair is a loose braid of vapor. Her eyes are calm patches of sky. She lifts a hand, not to stop him, only to offer a greeting, and the kite dips its edge in reply. "Welcome," the librarian says, voice like a silk bookmark sliding between pages. "We keep the stories that the air collects. Would you like to wander a shelf?" Rowan does not need to speak. The string speaks for him, vibrating with a soft of yes. The librarian guides him through an opening that feels like stepping through the fold in a curtain. Inside the cloud, the light is gentle and even, as though the moon has hidden there to read. On the shelves are small, weightless spines, each a breeze that once touched someone's skin, each a sigh lifted from a windowsill, each a quiet breath taken in the last moments before sleep. He passes a title that feels like First Evening on a New Pillow, another that holds the scent of rain on stone steps. Another is the memory of distant bells softened by snow. He understands without knowing how that these are the stories that make the night friendly, the little anchors and comforts that keep travelers company when the world is hushed. For your pocket offers him one slender volume, barely more than a ribbon of cool air. For your pocket, she smiles. He tucks it in the place over his heart where a pocket might be, and it melts into warmth. "Thank you," Rowan breathes, and the cloud responds with a contented shh. The kite gives a tiny, happy flick of its tail. Outside again, the sky is deeper, richer, as if someone turned the dimmer one click more toward night. An easy current draws them onward. Below, the meadow gives way to clustered rooftops. Chimneys are untroubled columns, carrying whispers upwards. Cinnamon here, chamomile there, flavors of night kitchens. A cat on a flat roof performs a slow stretch and rearranges itself into a circle, a soft comma in the sentence of the town. There is a sound ahead, not loud, but present, like the hush thrum of distant wings. It is a company of traveling birds, not in a rigid V, but in a relaxed constellation, drifting where the milder lanes of air allow. They are big, slow-winged creatures with down like smoke and eyes that shine with sleepy humor. The one nearest turns its head, and Rowan hears a greeting, not in words, but in the shared rhythm of breath. The birds keep a pace that any unhurried heart would appreciate. For a while, Rowan matches them. The kite rides above like a patient lantern, and the string hums a note that sits comfortably in the middle of everything. He notices how the birds breathe, a deep, even tide, the kind that fills a body with yes. He tries it, soft inhale, floating pause, gentle exhale, and the air seems pleased. One bird, elderly, crest like frost, drifts closer and offers a thought. When we rest in flight, we imagine the world holding us. It always does. Rowan nods because it feels true. The bird continues without ceremony, and Rowan watches the flock become a moving pattern on the blue-black fabric of night. They pass over a lake that looks like a polished stone. Its edges are stitched with reeds that sip at the moonlight. The surface bears the lightest wrinkles, as if someone ran a fingertip across it to smooth the day's worries. Rowan inhales the coolness that rises from it, minty and calm, and the exhale leaves him lighter. Far on the opposite shore, a tiny train moves with the dignity of a bedtime story, a soft glow in each window, the internal hush of travelers giving in to sleep. The distant sound is no more than a memory of a sound, a lullaby of wheels. Hush, hush, hush. The kite tugs gently to the left. Rowan follows. They enter a region of air that feels like velvet drift. Here, the stars seem close enough to greet individually. One star leans down as if to inspect. It is small, bright, and curious. "Do you need anything?" the star seems to ask, its light a warm dot of attention. Rowan considers. He does not need much, only the permission to keep going slowly. The star understands. It flickers once, like a tiny nod, and sets a dot of light on the string. No weight, just a shimmer, to remember the meeting by. The string looks pleased with its ornament. Soon after, they approach an archway formed by two long pale clouds. It is so clearly a gateway that even someone half asleep would smile to see it. On the other side, the sky seems to gather itself into a gentle boulevard, the sort of place where moonlight pools at regular intervals like quiet fountains. At the first pool of light waits a figure seated on a stool, the night watcher, keeper of calm crossings. Their coat is the color of deep tea. Their hat is a soft dome with a brim that curves like a crescent. They hold a lantern whose glass is frosted with tiny stars. Inside the glass, the flame is patient and golden. "Good evening," the watcher says, as if Rowan had arrived a minute early to a very forgiving appointment. "You're right on time." Rowan feels the line relax in his palm. "Is there a toll?" he asks, smiling. "Only a breath taken with full attention," the watcher replies. "In, out, like this." They demonstrate, and Rowan follows. A gentle inhale that spills into the belly. A floating moment. Then a long, unforced exhale that carries with it any grit the day left behind. When he's done, the lantern brightens, approving. "Travel gently," says the watcher. "If you meet the moonkeeper, tell her the kettle is warm." Rowan nods, grateful. The kite, proud of its steady hand, leads them on. They pass more fountains of light, places where old stories linger like perfume. In one pool, he senses the echo of lullabies hummed on wooden staircases. In another, he feels the warmth of kitchen tables long after the cups were cleared. These are the small spells that keep a night soft. A touch on a shoulder, a blanket straightened, a window latched with a quiet click. Further on, he finds a small floating market. If you were to blink too slowly, you might miss it. But if you keep your eyes half open with the friendliness of drowsiness, you can see stalls made of light beams and counters of cloudwood. Vendors sell bundles of hush, coils of contentment thread, jars of very mild courage for those whose thoughts make a little too much noise. Rowan pauses at a stall where a kindly person in a shawl of stardust offers 3 sighs for the price of one. He chooses a single, perfectly timed sigh, which he releases now. The sigh drifts upward, joins the lamps, and becomes someone's ease further along the sky road. Before the market slides by, an old clock, without tick or chime, shows him a face with hands resting at now. It is a good time, it says, to loosen the aware grip just a little. Rowan lets his fingers soften further. The spool rests where his palm curves in. The line hums lower. The kite's tail writes a gentler script. They approach a hill of night, no earth in it, only air that piles the way blankets do. At its crest stands a door hung on nothing, a moonbeam for a lintel, a star for a knob. Rowan understands that this is the place the watcher meant. He floats closer and lifts a hand. The kite steadies in approval. He touches the star. It is cool, then warm. The door opens. Inside is a room the size of a good breath. Shelves of cups, a kettle whispering before the boil, a window where the horizon waits, quiet as a cat. The moonkeeper is there, a presence made of silver attention and soft patience. She does not glow so much as reassure. The light she wears makes corners kind. The watcher says the kettle is warm, Rowan offers. The moonkeeper smiles, and the kettle agrees with a soft, contented murmur. She pours into a cup that seems to have been saved for just this moment. The tea smells like chamomile growing against a fence, like vanilla faintly lingering on fingers, like a memory of haylofts and pear slices. Rowan accepts the cup, and the warmth moves through his hands into his wrists, his forearms, his shoulders, like a carefully folded blanket being laid across him. They say little. Silence is the language of this place, and it is fluent. When he sips, the tea asks the body to soften. Temples, jaw, throat, the small muscles between the ribs. The moonkeeper nods as each one yields. "You are traveling well," she says at last, voice like a cushion being set in the precise right spot. "If there is a rule for this road," Rowan asks softly, "what is it?" "Only kindness to your own pace," she answers, "and to let the sky carry what you do not need." He breathes with that thought and sets the cup down, empty and luminous. The moonkeeper moves behind him as a trusted friend might, and traces, without touch, the lines of his shoulders and spine, checking for any stubborn bracing. Where she finds a small knot of effort, she leaves a silver breath that loosens it. Shh. When he turns to go, she hands him a small ribbon of light. "For your kite," she says. "It will not weigh it down. It will simply remember that you were here." Rowan ties the ribbon near the tail. The kite gives a pleased rustle. Back through the door, the sky greets them with its dependable, infinite welcome. Rowan feels fuller and lighter at once. He and the kite continue along the boulevard of night, passing the last pool of calm light, where someone's old song lingers like a scarf over the back of a chair. Below, the train is gone. In its place, the lake has taken on the pale sheen of a coin left on a windowsill. The birds are a rumor farther east. The cloud library is a pillow in the distance. The night will eventually lean toward the gentlest landing. For now they keep to the wide, slow lane where thought grows simple. If you're listening with the body, you might notice how your own breath has matched the travel. Easy in, light pause, long, quiet out. The world below is safe and sleeping. The world above is patient and ready to set you down exactly where rest can find you. Rowan tightens his fingers only enough to feel the spool's friendly shape. The line holds the faint music of all they've passed. The librarian's hush, the bird's eventide, the watcher's lantern, the moonkeeper's tea. Everything hums yes. Everything says not long now, and no hurry. If your eyes want to grow heavier, let them. The next part of our journey is the soft descent, the gathering in, the quiet settling that brings the body to shore. The kite knows the way. The sky knows the gentlest slope. And you, dear traveler, are being carried. The road of night begins to slope. The way, a pleasant path, turns toward home when your feet have had their fill. Rowan feels it first in the line. The hum lowers, the vibration smooths, the tug becomes a suggestion. The kite, with its moon ribbon and star bead, drifts in a soft arc, not falling, never falling, only choosing a quieter layer of air. Almost there, Rowan whispers, and even that small sound seems to find a pillow and rest. The sky is a kind room now, corners rounded by darkness, edges smudged with silver. Below, the lake gives the night back to itself in a cool reflection. Far beyond, a farmhouse window shows a dusty glow. Someone has left the lamp on while they fill a kettle, or while a book face down waits beside a soft chair. The world keeps making safe signs. The air asks Rowan to let go of all but the simplest of actions. He gives a fingertip's worth of line, and the kite dips, takes a new lane that feels like a slow river returning to the sea. He breathes with it, steady in, floating pause, calm out. And the breath carries smooth across the chest, under the ribs, down the belly. If you're coming with him, let your own body follow. Inhale like you're smelling warm bread. Pause as if listening for the kettle's first whisper. Exhale like mist on glass. A soft rain begins somewhere far off, so far that it reaches them as a memory before a sound. Then the sound arrives, a faint, even patter, tin-tin on forgotten roofs, hush-hush across leafy lanes. It's the kind of rain the night keeps to itself, a polite visitor that wipes the slate clean without asking questions. Rowan's shoulders receive it with ease. The kite's tail gives an approving shiver and then grows still again. They pass the cloud library once more, now dimmer, doors drawn to. A little placard of invisible ink shows one word when the moon brushes it: tomorrow. It is enough. Good places wait. Good stories keep. The flock of slow-winged birds is already settled. He can feel them like dots of warmth in the dark, floating asleep in the wide quiet. The watcher's lantern on the boulevard of light has shortened its flame and set it to a contented ember. The door to the moonkeeper's room shows only a seam. Inside, a last cup dries on a hook. All is closed with care. Rowan leans a fraction left, a fraction right, scarcely shifting at all, and the kite reads the thought without hurry. They move over the drowsy town. A curtain breathes at a window. A cat turns in its circle and sighs. Somewhere a clock gives a single soft talk, the kind of sound that happens by accident when gears stretch their pause and settle. The rain draws a veil between all these small lives, not to hide them, but to let them be painless and private. The sea returns beneath them, patient, wide, its breath the same as it was. Hush out, hush in. The tide writes an old, slow poem on the sand, then erases it, then writes it again, never bored. The lighthouse, steady as a heartbeat, turns a thinner beam now, conserving comfort for those who need it most. Rowan feels the string grow heavier in the way that signals not a burden, but a nearness. Land is a hand rising to meet him. He thinks of the night watcher's toll, one attentive breath, and pays it again. In, hold, out. The breath moves like a warm brushstroke from his forehead down to his toes, painting everything sleepy. He lets the jaw unclasp. He lets the tongue lie heavy and still. He rests the small muscles behind the eyes. He smooths the brow with a thought, and the thought obeys. The neck lengthens as if a kind palm lifted the crown. The shoulders drop as if a friendly coat were slipped from them. The arms hang loose and warm. The hands uncurl. The chest drifts like a boat on forgiving water. The belly softens. The hips unhook. The legs grow calm and quiet, as if they have walked enough for many days. The ankles slacken. The feet spread gently, toes floating like petals in a bowl. The air becomes a landing field of velvet. The kite eases down through one more ribbon of night, then another, until its fabric hum is level with the soft rush of the sea. Rowan keeps the spool cupped in his palm. He feels the sweet readiness of being grounded. The rain thins to a brush of coolness, a blessing with no weight. They come to the shore where it began. The sand owns the scent of salt and cooled stone. The dune grasses lean together, conspirators in quiet. The night has deepened to that tender hour when the sky seems to have only two colors, the dream dark above and the softer dark below. Rowan touches down as if the ground rose in a slow smile to greet him. His feet accept the sand. The string lights with relief and gratitude. The kite settles in a small arc, then a smaller one, then stillness, floating a breath above the beach, as if reluctant to end the dance too abruptly. "Thank you," Rowan murmurs to the wind, and the wind, pleased with the politeness, runs its cool hand across his face like a good-night gesture. He reels in the line without hurry, patience braided into each turn of the spool. The kite comes to him aisle by aisle, a quiet procession that ends with fabric folding against his chest like a friendly creature. He smooths a thumb along the moon ribbon tied near the tail. It glows a sigh's worth, then rest. He folds the kite the way you fold a memory you want to keep close, neat, easy, with pauses to notice. Each crease is a thank you. Each tie is a small good night. The string winds back with a soft, satisfied a cat pleasure sound. The spool returns to its simple weight, and the palm accepts it like an old coin, familiar, cool, then warm. Like if you like folding your day the same way, lay this hour on top of that hour, smooth the edges, tuck them into one another. Notice the pleasant thickness of the stack as it grows, the way it stops asking anything of you once folded. You can put the day on a shelf in your mind's safe cupboard. The door closes with a click, softer than rain. There is a key, but you do not need it now. The cupboard keeps watch. Rowan sits for a while where the water almost reaches, where the sand is firm and cool. He draws an absent-minded line with his heel. Loop, loop, simple shapes that the next generous wave will soften and take. He warms his hands by rubbing them together once, then resting them, palm over palm, at the belly, where warmth collects naturally. He lets his breath do the smallest work possible. Climb a short hill, descend a shorter one. Climb, descend. Hush, hush, hush. The rain has become the only air that remembers rain. The night holds like a deep bowl cupped in kind hands. The stars have stepped back a pace to give darkness its turn. Somewhere home lamps have gone out, and the rooms keep their sleepers without needing to be lit. The lighthouse turns and turns and turns, less a warning now than a lullaby. Rowan lies back on the sand and lets the ground take him. It does, with the competence of a friend who has done this many times. He slips one hand under the folded kite, another under his head, and becomes the simple shape of rest. The string, clipped and tidy, rests beside him, a silver thread with a memory of stars. He is not alone. He is companioned by everything that has agreed to be gentle tonight. If you wish, you may match him breath for breath. No effort, no counting, only the low tide inside your chest. Feel the cool at the tip of the nose as air goes in, and the faint warmth as it leaves. Feel the way your clothing loosens on the inhale and cuddles on the exhale. Feel the way the surface beneath you understands your weight and accepts it completely. Let your thoughts be like the smallest boats in a quiet harbor. They rock a little, they bump, they drift, they find moorings of their own. You do not have to tie them. They know what to do. The mind may bring a feather of image, the cloud library's shelves, the elder bird's calm wing, the watcher's lantern barely breathing, the moonkeeper's ribbon of light. Let any of these drift across your inner sky. They come with no wish to be held, only to keep you company as you enter that meadow where grass leans and listens, and the air smells of safe things. Rowan's last waking sense is of the sea performing its patient task. Old poems written and rewritten until they are smooth to sleep on. His last thought is so small It barely qualifies as a thought. Thank you. The wind tucks the word into the dune grass like a note, to be found by morning or by no one at all. Now the shore is quieter still. The breath is the only tide you need. The body is the kite, folded and kept, its light ribbon glowing faintly with remembered kindness. The mind has turned down the lamp and drawn the curtain with 2 fingers. No creak, no fuss. Rest now. Drift down the last gentle slope. The road is finished for tonight, and the place at the bottom is soft and yours. Every part of you is allowed to let go. The story stands guard, the way a friend sits in a chair nearby while you fall asleep. The rain, only if you like, returns as the softest idea of rain, a far-away hush. The sand supports you. The sea hums somewhere beyond the edge of thought. The sky keeps watch without asking to be seen. In a small rise and out down a long smooth hill. The breath rocks the boat rocks you. The oars are shipped, the harbor is safe. The water is dark velvet. The rope touches the post and stays. Sleep comes as surely as the tide returns, and it has already begun, sweet and slow and complete.